Planes, Trains, and Automobiles because it was just Thanksgiving and it's a Thanksgiving movie. I never saw it. So I don't have like it's also from the 80s. I don't know if I explained this before, but I like doing movies from way before, and I like the 80s in general, I guess, for movies. But I don't like to spoil movies, so that's why I don't do more current ones. So hopefully the 80s is a long enough time for you to see it, for you to see the movies. But so I don't know, I don't do plot points exactly, like I don't do like classic movie reviews kind of thing. It's kind of just Tommy's take on the movies and what I like and dislike about it. Started watching it the night before Thanksgiving, which I think is perfect, and then I didn't finish it, thank goodness. That was sarcasm, I know you couldn't tell because I couldn't even tell. And then I waited 2 days and then the rental ran out, so I had to buy it again. Yes, that shouldn't be how it works. How it should work is you get it like half off or something if you have to buy it within like a week or whatever, again, to finish watching it, in my opinion. Or it should know like where you are and the thing doesn't run out until you're like, at least like 3/4 of the way through. I guess you could always rewind it and just keep it forever, but I don't know, there's got to be a better way for that, because 48 hours, that should be enough time, but it's not always enough time, especially during the holidays. Annoying, but it's Steve Martin and which I just talked about him in Touch with Tommy 8, which is funny. And I just edited that one, that's why it's funny to me. And John Candy, which are two powerhouses, especially in the 80s. Steve Martin, in I don't know if it's like technically the opening scene, but in the very beginning, he's running to catch a cab, and he's overacting, which is like a product of the 80s kind of thing. But it's still funny. Like, it's Steve Martin, he just makes things funny. But I think this is peak John Candy in this movie, and TJ Miller talks about how great he is in this movie, and also Uncle Buck. I don't know what year that was. I want to say 85-ish, but that's my favorite John Candy movie. I watched that one when I was pretty little. And John Hughes directed this one, which you usually think of him as a younger kid kind of movie, but he ripped it. Did he die? Because he should still be making movies, in my opinion. But he's so great. Like, he just knows what's up. I think he did die. He did Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and a bunch of, I think 16 Candles, Breakfast Club. I mean, it's just home runs all around. But Ferris Bueller's dad is in this one, and the guy who says Bueller, that guy, is also in this movie for a short time. But the first shot of the movie is a funky angle of a tall building, and I don't know why. I still don't know why. I don't know if it's to make you feel uneasy at first, because it's like a corporate thing where Steve Martin's annoyed and wants to get it, like, have this meeting go faster. So I wonder if that's what it is. I don't know, it's interesting. I'd like to ask John Hughes about it if he wasn't dead. And then there's in that first scene, to display that that Steve Martin's character needs to get on a plane. During the meeting, he looks at a ticket, and it highlights the ticket of where it's going, of where he needs to go and when. And so that's super 80s, and like doesn't trust the audience to see what's going on. And I think there'd be a different way to show that. I mean, a better way to show that nowadays, hopefully, without using like fake things, because that stuff takes you out of it. Like stuff that's not real, like that wouldn't happen in real life, it just takes you out of it. And everyone knows it's a movie, but you want to pretend that you're watching, or you're living through Steve Martin or whatever. Then shortly after that, Steve Martin and character and John Candy's character finally meet, and it's like nice and good. And then the movie really comes alive because Steve Martin's trying to keep it together because John Candy is really annoying, and but he's trying to keep it together, be polite. He's like, it's only for a couple of hours. I just want to get home. Let's deal with this for now. And then finally, Steve Martin gets fed up with everything because John Candy gets so annoying. Like on the plane, he takes off his socks and shoes. Like that's, obviously a trope for the worst thing. They end up having to share a bed together, and John Candy's smoking in bed and eating chips. But so finally, Steve Martin has enough of it. Steve Martin's character has enough of it. I'm just gonna call him Steve Martin because that's what he is. But he finally speaks his mind and like says like, you ought to shut up more or something like, and then John Candy's character is so lovable. Like I said, he's so annoying, but he's equally as lovable, and that's like such an impossible balance to have as a character. It's really impressive. And he does this speech about John Candy does about after Steve Martin tells him off. He says, "I like me. I might not be the most aware human being or stuff like that, but he's like, I like me, and my wife likes me, and that's really cute." And and then Steve Martin goes he calls John Candy a miracle. Like, it's a miracle that you're a person.
You're a miracle.
I think that's so good, dude. I love that. I forgot about that. I'm glad I forgot about that because you could see how much I love that. He just calls it's brilliant. It's brilliant. He calls him a miracle. Like, usually it's amazing when usually something you say is a compliment, but then it's actually that's so good. I love that. Okay. And while he's getting insulted, John Candy has this amazing. There's a shot on him while he's getting insulted, so he's not saying anything, and you could see the pain in his eyes. Dude, he's a good actor. Oh, frick yeah. He died too, man. That's such a bummer. He was fantastic. John Candy has this little mustache that's so terrible and totally adds to his character. And then speaking of facial hair, I'm really scruffy. This is the last day in November, so I'm gonna trim it up so next week I'll look sexy again. And maybe some people think this looks sexy, but nothing's forever, so I'll be sexy again if you don't think I'm sexy now, and I'll be unsexy again if you think I'm sexy now. Something like that. You know what I'm saying. And then John Candy and Steve Martin toward the end of the movie, they're like just about to be home, and they find a hotel near, on the way, and I feel like I got to know them as people, not just actors. In that scene, they seem so real. It's unbelievable. Like, it's so not an 80s thing to have like that scene. It does feel actually out of place. It felt like they were, because they're in a hotel room eating chips, making jokes and having fun. It felt like they were on break from production, and they just started filming. Like, it's just, it felt so real. And like, I was thinking about Dumb and Dumber had mostly the opposite dynamic of these two guys in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, because Dumb and Dumber are like friends most of the movie, and I think there's a conflict toward the end. And I like that kind of tone better, because it's like less, and I know like conflict is king, you know, in movies. But I like people getting along, so I like different kind of conflict, I think. So I like that they finally kind of became friends, and they're like, you know, Steve Martin was like, one day I'll actually look back on this and laugh, probably, because there are so many bad things that happened to them. And then he starts laughing, and he's like, look, it's happening already. And it felt so real. Dude, he's good. And he overacts sometimes, you know, but that's the 80s, and he somehow transcended time and was like really real about that part. And they're just slap happy, dude, and it just like felt like, I think they said even it feels like we're at summer camp, and it really felt like that. And then, you know, the end, if you saw the movie, you know, guess if I cried? Yes, he did, multiple times. So that's enough of that.